What up? Oh, the chat. Where's the chat? Do I have to click the refresh button on the chat on a Monday? Oh my God, right out the gate, we have to push the damn refresh button right out the start. You figure it would work right out the gate, but it doesn't work right out the gate. Look at that. 5 gifted memberships. 5 gifted memberships. Who gifted 5 memberships? Oh, it was me. Oh my God, it was me. I gifted 5 memberships. Well, thanks, me. Good job, me. I've done a great job today gifting 5 memberships. You're welcome. You're welcome for me. Ha! Boy, on a Monday, just performing right out of the gate. Gifting memberships. Unbelievable. People are going to write about it. People are going to write about it. You know, they're going to go around writing all about it. They're going to just, you know, paper, pen, ink, all of the things. They're going to write about how well I did gifting 5 YouTube memberships to my own YouTube channel. They're going to write about it because it's very important, okay? I expect a 40-page spread in the New York Times by tomorrow. Stop the presses. Get them ready for a new story that'll be coming to a town near you. New York style. This computer over here just turned on. The other computer still has a ghost in it, you guys. It doesn't matter how many times I exorcise the demons out of the other computer over here. It occasionally just turns on its own. And it's like, hey, what's going on? And I refuse to kill it with fire. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to kill it with fire because it's still useful. It's still a useful creature, even if it is possessed by Satan itself, right? It's not actually possessed. It just I just rebooted it for all of the updates it needed. No one will be able to read it if I write about it on paper. That's true. You could just write it on a piece of paper and then throw it in the fireplace. I think that's probably the most useful thing that anybody could do at this point in time. Although we did get a $5 super chat from Witchy Cat themselves. A $5 super chat says, I'm only going to do one because today sucks. But come on, guys. Friday would be fun. That's right. We have a goal. If we get 10 super chats, I guess if we get 10 super chats today, that we'll do a stream on Friday. YouTube says you're supposed to have a goal now. You're supposed to have a goal, right? You're supposed to have a goal with your super chat thing, right? You're supposed to have a goal. So we set a goal of 10 super chats, and then we'll do a stream on Friday. That's the reward. An extra live stream. I don't even know if it's a viable reward. We shall see. But Witchy Cat is right. Friday would be fun if we could do a stream on Friday. You never know. It's the end of the week. People go TGIF, right? They get all excited in their britches. Their britches get all tight fitting, you know, from the excitement. Hold on a second. I got a message. Hold on. Okay. The plane has landed in Mexico. Okay. Hey, in case you guys were wondering, planes are landing in Mexico as we speak. Very exciting. It's very exciting. Yeah, it's very exciting stuff. I know that people are entranced by the idea that planes would actually land in Mexico. So we're gonna definitely spend a lot of time talking about planes landing in Mexico. Everyone's gonna be super excited about it. Yeah, everyone's gonna be super excited about it. The airplanes, right? Is it a Boeing? Did it make it? Anyhow, moving on. So not how britches work. That's how britches work. They get all tight fitting because of the excitement for Fridays. That is exactly how britches work. Don't argue with me on that. But that's how britches work. You get super excited and they get tight fitting. Yeah. It's true. Branton Lightcap. Hello, everyone. I've never seen Branton Lightcap in here before. Wait, maybe I have. Their little avatar seems familiar in my mind for some reason. But what's up, Branton? Joel G says, hey there, Sweaty. What's up, Sweaty? How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Tampa Tom has got the headphones on. Thumbs up. Okay, good. That means we can say shit, fuck, and whatever because Tom's got their headphones on. I remember somebody was saying that they were airing my live stream at some place of business one day, and then I was swearing about something, and I was like, why make the bad decision on airing my live stream in a business? I'm like, why would you do that? That's a weird thing that you would do, and expect me, not knowing that you were doing that, to be like, oh, let me keep it G-rated for whatever business it was in. I'm just going to say it was in... Is Bed Bath & Beyond out of business? I think Bed Bath & Beyond went out of business, right? Bed Bath & Beyond out of business? Question mark? Did it go out of business? No, Bed Bath & Beyond is not out of business, but is now an online-only retailer. Okay, so it's an online-only retailer now. So all the stores closed, but I guess you could just buy it or something. It's like Bed Bath and Amazon or something now. Oh, the computer over there is back on. It's woken up again. Okay. It'll probably go back into sleep mode again. Someday. It might stay on forever. Who knows? I don't know. Yeah, it's not even plugged into the wall. That's the thing that's fun about it. And that's why I won't kill it with fire, because it's not using any electricity. You know what I'm saying? It's not using any electricity. So that's definitely the benefit of having a computer that is possessed, right? Like, just think of the environment. Just think of the savings of the environment, right? In June 2023, Overstock.com bought Bed Bath & Beyond, Beyond's intellectual property, digital assets, and brand for $21.5 million. Okay, so it is out of business. Overstock.com bought it for $21 million. Wow. That is wild to think that you could have come up with like $21 million and you would have bought Bed Bath & Beyond, essentially. That is fucking wild, bros. You know what I mean? Brenton Lightcap said, lol, you said that last week. I probably will say that every week for the next 16 years, I would guess. If I had to wager, I'm going to say that every week. It's actually a thing that I'm doing. It's a feature of the live stream. It's not a bug. It's a feature of the live stream. You're supposed to lean into it. Anyhow, we got another super chat here we have to address from Melissa Bentley. It says, I can't attend a Friday live stream, but it's not all about me. Earbuds at work. Wonderful feature. You could attend, but we would never know it because you wouldn't be typing into chat, would you? But you could earbud, right? You could earmuffs it. You could throw up some earmuffs, and listen to some bullshit rambling from a madman. Skog Shrimp and Stuff, is this teal? What's Friday? This brisket and broccoli mac and cheese is delicious. You can for a lot of work. You can put a lot of words in these super chats. There's no more. He's run out of room. He's run out of room. You can put a lot of words in there. I think the it's my understanding that the $500 super chat, I think you could probably just copy and paste War and Peace in there, I think. I'm not 100% sure. We've received $500 super chats in the past, and they did not attempt that. So I don't know. I can't verify 100% how many characters you get if you do a $500 super chat. But we do know that that is the maximum super chat because it has happened a few times, and it's ridiculous, and I don't recommend people do it. $500 is a lot of money. Just imagine how many magic mushrooms you could buy with $500. It's a lot. It's a lot, you know. It's a lot. Okay, there we go. All right, cool. Anyhow, but if there is some Jeff Bezos type creature out there that wants to sponsor the channel, I normally like to go over this much earlier in the stream, not right at the beginning. I like to go over this earlier than the beginning. If there's a Jeff Bezos type character, email me or just go over to I don't even know if I have the fucking link to my own goddamn Patreon page. Copy. What is this? Oh my God, people can now gift Patreon memberships. Okay, I guess people can do that. I just got the notification by going over to my Patreon page. Paste. There we go. Here it is. That's my Patreon page. If you're a Jeff Bezos type character and you want to sponsor this channel, just go over to Patreon and gift like 1 million memberships. What's the gift package? Oh, it looks like this. This is the gift package thing? I don't know. I guess Patreon now lets you gift. I don't know. Okay. Whatever. Do I even recommend it? I don't know. But Patreon definitely takes a lot smaller cut than YouTube does. So we appreciate all of the Patreon people. All 121 of you, I think, is how many it is. I think, yeah. 121 patrons. Thank you. Anyhow, moving on to the regular old bullshit of the channel. What is the bullshit of the channel today? I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think there's much more in the news other than the catastrophe that is the United States at this point. I'm pretty sure most of the world is hitting the like button. You got to hit the like button. It's very important. YouTube just reminded me that I'm supposed to tell people to hit the like button. Otherwise, we have problems. Moving on. I'm pretty sure the rest of the world is right at the edge of their seat, at the precipice of the stupidity of this current new administration that has been voted in. I recently heard a lot of people kind of pontificating about the potential that this election had been cheated. And, you know, I'm not one to go around saying that anything like that has happened. If somebody has evidence, I would hope that they would take it to court and do all that. But I have not seen any evidence that is compelling or made into a court case or made it to court or seen in court or any of that kind of stuff. So I believe that's all bullshit. So I'm going to say that this current administration was elected, to the extent of my knowledge, legitimately by Americans that for some reason just seem to be consistently bewildered now as to what they voted for. And I don't fully understand those people. I'm going to admit it. I'm going to fully admit to you guys right now, I do not understand the people that voted for Donnie J. Clown Trump, McGee, Big Mac eating rapist himself. I don't understand. I don't understand that they voted for him and then now they're going like, what is he doing? And you go like, this is what he's been talking about for the last 5 years, what he wants to do. So what do you mean, what is he doing? You know, I've had to highlight to many people at this point in my wide circle of contacts that this is exactly what he's been talking about. And so he's doing it. Like, I don't understand the people that are shocked and surprised that he has done things like appoint Matt Gaetz as his attorney general. I've actually had conversations with people that say, oh, the Senate is going to refuse these appointments. And the Senate is 100% on board for this insanity. There is no guardrail. There is no safety net in the next 4 years. And it is going to be an insane, bumpy ride because this is what they've been talking about for the last 4 years. This whole 4 years of campaigning has been that they want to. I mean, the fact that he was talking in the debate with Kamala Harris, that he just started rambling on about how they're eating the dogs, probably should have been your first indication, had you even been not paying attention this whole time, that this man was insane and plans to go down an insane route and is surrounded by sycophants that are happy to appease every single thing that he wants, as illustrated by the airplane image of Elon Musk and the two Dons and RFK sitting around in a private airplane eating McDonald's. And you realize that RFK has been appointed to basically to make America healthy again, and is sitting there drinking a Coca-Cola and eating supposedly McDonald's food. I don't even know if it actually is McDonald's food or if it's just old cartons that they have and then put whatever food in it. I don't know. But the Coca-Cola looks like a Coca-Cola to me, and it looks like he's drinking Coca-Cola, which is just so far beyond the pale of the supposed health guy, the health guru. It is, it's sort of beyond comprehension. You know, and I realistically, for the guy that admitted that he admitted that he found a dead bear on the side of the road and then took the dead bear and put it in New York near Central Park as a protest for a bike lane that was put in. I would not be shocked to find out that that guy is leading an incredibly unhealthy lifestyle and is likely just taking a lot of drugs to maintain his physique. I wouldn't be surprised if that was to come to light. And the chances are he probably just does sit around eating cheeseburgers and Coca-Colas all the time. I wouldn't be shocked to find that out at all. And it's very weird how people have managed to convince themselves that, like, RFK, who is married to a Hollywood elite, Cheryl Hines, right, that somehow that guy is like a conservative or any kind of mouthpiece for the conservative party. I wonder how long I've been talking with that with the microphone unplugged or just barely plugged in. That's wild. How long? Okay, so it was plugged in, but just enough. It had just the tip plugged in. That's wild. Okay, welcome to my life. That I was literally like, I looked over here at the monitor and the microphone was like not quite plugged in, and I'm like, that's weird. But strangely enough, people have been hearing me for this long. I wonder if you guys were listening to me out of a different microphone, but none of the other microphones are panned up, so it couldn't have been. Apparently, just the tip is enough for this microphone. You know, just the tip is just enough for certain microphones. Those would be the people who just vote for a political party because their parents did and don't educate themselves on their party's actual position. Actually, I think a lot of people that voted for Trump are actually just voting on name recognition alone. I think it has less to do with like who their parents vote for or anything like that. I think it has less to do with that. I think it has most to do with just name recognition. It's been illustrated in the United States for over the past 50 years that it's very common that Americans will just vote for something that they recognize, right? Bush Jr. would be a perfect example if you were looking for one that's easy to look for. Ronald Reagan is a easy second to point to, right? The 2-bit actor from Hollywood, right? That somehow is the bastion of Republican, ire, right? Oh, he's amazing. And yeah, and I think it just has more to do with that. It just has more to do with the fact that, like, I think a lot of young people have just seen a ton of Trump stuff, and they are just basically like, oh, okay, it's cool. And one of the things that has been highlighted is that a lot of Hispanics voted for Trump. And I have talked about this before, but I think it has more to do with the fact that the actual translators of people that translate the stuff that Trump is saying from English to Spanish, they translate it in a much kinder light, meaning to say that, like, when Trump was saying grab them by the pussy, they'll let you do it if you're famous, right? They wouldn't say that word for word, right? They would essentially, what's the word? They would sort of whitewash the commentary, right? Into saying something like approximate to what he was saying as opposed to what he was actually saying. And they did that for years and years. And eventually, a lot of Hispanics that I know that are sort of speak a tiny bit of English or maybe even speak English pretty well, consume a lot of their content in Spanish, which makes sense. I mean, if really doesn't take a super genius for somebody to go like, oh, they consume content in their native language. That's not weird. It's the 21st century. It's pretty easy to find content that is in your native language, whatever that may be. And a lot of that has essentially been bought and paid for to just sort of act like Trump is Uncle, T.O. Trump, Uncle Trump. It's just your uncle guy, and he's going to take care of you, and he's your buddy. And then they don't necessarily listen to all of the crazy speeches and shit that he has done over the last 10 years. Realistically, there's so much content out there that it is just a shitstorm of extra Trump content. So then people go, oh, I don't really want to sit around and listen to a 4-hour speaking event where he's just wandering around or listening to YMCA for 45 minutes and Ave Maria and just him standing there listening to records, essentially, right? They don't want to consume any of that content. So somebody else consumes that content, filters it to sound like it's a good thing, and it would be a good thing for the Hispanic community, but then they just tell them, essentially. Do you see what I'm saying? Does that make sense? It's somebody telling somebody else that this is good for you, and they just go like, okay, I accept it on face value, right? And I think a lot of the American electorate is essentially similar to that. You can imagine that if young people are essentially only consuming their content like YouTube and TikTok that has sort of funneled them into a place where other people are consuming the actual content like Project 2025, like somebody else reads it and then they tell you, oh, this stuff is all great, right? Then a lot of those people just go like, oh, okay, I trust Ben Shapiro or Jordan Peterson or Joe Rogan or fucking Theo Vaughn or who else? Who else are these idiots? Tim Pool is one of them. Charlie Kirk, right? Like all of these like super partisan hacks that we're finding out more and more over time that they're being funded by dark money from overseas, right? And if you're wondering about that, just look up tenant media, and you start to realize, like, oh wait, these people are taking in millions of dollars to basically make Russian propaganda and other overseas monies in order to essentially destabilize America. That's their ultimately been their plan for quite a while. It's kind of crazy to think that the comparatively small amount of money to get a hold of what would be considered a very large audience. Of course, it's much more affordable for countries to just pay off the talking heads of a country, right? It would be really easy to just pay off the talking heads of a country, and then instead of, having to hire spies and have them like go around and do covert nonsense, right? It'd be much easier just to do that from overseas by just taking a little bit of the stolen money that they have and then funnel that into the talking heads and just have them do what they want. This was something that I noticed the other day. This is hilarious. This is one of the funniest things. Funny yet terrifying and ridiculous at the same time. Dozens of Fortune 100 companies have unwittingly hired North Korean IT workers, according to a report. Google said it has been contacted by several major U.S. companies recently who discovered that they unknowingly hired North Koreans using fake identities for remote IT roles. In a report published Monday by the company's Mandiant unit, researchers describe a common scheme orchestrated by the group it tracks as UNC 5267, which has been active since 2018. In most cases, the IT workers consist of individuals sent by the North Korean government to live primarily in China and Russia, with smaller numbers in Africa and Southeast Asia. The goal is for workers to earn salaries at multiple companies, generating revenue for the North Korean government, and to gain pivotal access to U.S. tech firms that can be used for further cyber attacks or intrusions. And I gotta tell you that this is another one of those. This is another one of those examples where capitalism has run riot to the point where other countries are able to infiltrate the companies here and make money off of companies in the United States and send them back to one of the worst administrations like the world has ever seen, like fucking North Korea, right? And you really wonder, like, at what point will all of this like insanity start to collapse? And I have to tell you, I don't know how much longer a lot of this stuff is going to last, but I don't have faith that it's going to last all that much longer. To be brutally honest with you, we got a bunch of super chats, but no, I haven't inspired any comments other than that my microphone was unplugged. I was hanging on by a thread, but still working well. It's hilarious that it was still working fine. It's very interesting. Anyhow, let's go back to that article for a second. It's just like hilarity. Let's see. The Justice Department in recent months has arrested and charged several U.S. citizens for running these laptop farms, and in one instance found an American that used 60 stolen identities to facilitate North Korean employment at more than 300 U.S. companies. The workers earned at least $6.8 million from October 2020 to October 2023. And I think the reality here is that, like, is this where the money is now, where you just sign up for remote work and essentially have just sign up for every like little piece of remote work that you can do and then just collect money whether you're good or not? Mandiant said it found evidence that the laptops at these farms are connected to a keyboard video mouse device or multiple remote management tools, including LogMeIn, GoToMeeting, Chrome Remote Desktop, AnyDesk, TeamViewer, and others. Feedback from team members and managers who spoke with Mandiant during investigations consistently highlighted behavior patterns, such as a reluctance to engage in video communication and below-average work quality exhibited by the DPRK IT worker remotely operating the laptops, which is wild to think that, like, you could have 60 stolen identities and collect $6.8 million in 3 years with, by the way, this is the performance review, essentially is you have a remote desktop that's sort of automating your remote work, right? That it kind of moves the mouse around and clicks on things or whatever to make it seem like you're doing work. And then the team members and managers who spoke with Mandiant during investigations consistently highlighted behavior patterns such as reluctant. So they didn't want to do any video communication, right? Like, I don't want to be on video. Okay. And then below average work quality. But they were still able to collect like $6.8 million, which is just wild. In several incident response engagements, Mandiant found that the workers used the same resumes that had links to fabricated software engineer profiles hosted on Netlify, a platform often used for quickly creating and developing and deploying websites. I don't know what Netlify is. Somebody might be able to tell me what Netlify is. I mean, other than a platform used to quickly create and deploy websites. Oh, I have the hiccups. One characteristic repeatedly seen was the use of U.S.-based addresses accompanied by educational credentials. Oh, I have the hiccups. Welcome to my life. We'll do a live stream. I'll get hiccups right in the middle of it. Anyhow, many of the resumes and profiles included poor English and other clues indicating the actor was not based in the U.S. I mean, the thing that's so wild here is that, like, not only were their resumes that bad, they had poor English, but they still got hired. They still got the job. It's wild. I don't even understand. It's just wild stuff. U.S. officials previously shut down 17 website domains and seized $1.5 million last year in an operation targeting the infrastructure used by North Korean government to facilitate the IT worker scheme. I mean, it's like the wildest thing, right? Like, supposedly, all of these great companies that are going to do all this great work in the United States here, like, they're hiring people that don't even have a firm grasp on the English language to manage their IT teams. I just don't understand. I just don't get it, right? Like, we're supposed to, supposedly, we voted for a president, right? Like, they voted for a president that wants to, we voted for a president that wants to kick all the, air quote, illegals out of the country. They want to deport over 20 million people. But yet the companies in America are hiring North Korean IT workers with, like, fucked up resumes, poor English on their resumes, like low quality work performance, all of these things. And yet here we are, right? The Shrimp Father, a.k.a. Martin, says, hey, everyone, appreciate the gifted subscription. Well, you're welcome. You're very welcome. It came straight from me. It came straight from the source. Straight from the teat to you. Now, we just don't have a lot of interactivity in the chat today. It's almost a great thing about having, like, crazy Trump supporters in the chat, because they just start typing away like fucking maniacs. Although they could be bots, actually. They could just be bots from North Korea. That's ultimately one of the funny parts. I will go into the green room today in case anybody off of our Discord wants to call in. They can. What was the rest of my topics today? Oh, one of the things we wanted to talk today was where a lot of the reactions are coming from with this crazy new administration has a lot to do with the appointees. And I think people are they're sort of like losing their minds. Like, I can't believe this is what Trump was going to be doing. And yet this is what he was saying he was going to do the whole time. He brought in Elon Musk. He brought in Vivek Ramaswamy, who are a couple of total, like total goofballs that essentially just like won the lottery, right? And people have been upset with me over the years for like qualifying these people as essentially people that won the lottery. And I would I've requested people in the past to like go over the history of like how they made their money. And they essentially invested in something that accidentally made them a bunch of money at a time when money was so incredibly loosely being splashed around by these goofball corporations. And, you know, like Joe Rogan is also a perfect example of somebody who essentially won the lottery, right? He was a Taekwondo guy. People said he was funny. He started doing some stand-up stuff when he was very young. Decided to move to L.A. and booked a TV show like right after moving to L.A. And back then, they would put you on retainer. And if you don't understand what that is, it's basically a company gives you a bunch of money so that you're unable to be on a different show. Does that make sense? That like, hey, we're going to give you a bunch of money and we own your rights so that you can't go on a different TV show. And that's basically what happened to him. And if you describe that to somebody as like, well, yeah, Joe Rogan just like basically won the lottery, they go, what are you talking about? That's bullshit. Joe Rogan's been broadcasting for years and shit and stuff. And you go like, yeah, but where did he get his start out money? And when you look into the past, it's like, oh, they just gave him a big ass check so he wouldn't be on a different TV show. The first TV show he's on, I think only aired like 2 episodes or something like that. And they paid him for like 5 years essentially. So it's kind of one of those things where you go, Elon's like first company was essentially like him and his brother made this company called Zip2 in 1995, a company that provided maps and business directories to online newspapers, right? So in 1995, people had paper maps, right? People had paper maps. That's all we had. We had a sheet of paper that you would go, where is it? Follow the fucking treasure map, essentially, is what we had. You know? Like X marks the spot here on this paper page. Now drive over there, right? And essentially news companies and stuff were having problems figuring out they were having problems figuring out like a way in order to highlight where news stories had happened. And this is when the internet was fairly new, and they wanted to be able to highlight like where a news story happened. Well, Zip2 was the company that essentially did that. Him and his brother, amongst a bunch of other people, programmed a website to do that. And in 1999, this is when like the tech bubble was going on in the United States, and people were throwing cash all over the place for all sorts of fucking stupid reasons. Compaq Computer. If you guys remember Compaq, does Compaq still exist? I don't know if Compaq still exists. Let's double check this. Let's look. Search the internet for Compaq. Okay, once again, another company that was acquired by another company. No, Compaq is not an independent company. The brand was used by Hewlett-Packard until 2013. So for anybody out there that remembers Compaq, you probably got to be at least as old as me. So if you're young, you probably don't remember it. If you have youth and no gray hair, you don't remember Compaq probably. In 2002, HP acquired Compaq for about $25 billion. HP used the Compaq brand for lower-end systems until 2013, right? The Compaq brand is now is licensed to third parties for use in electronics in Brazil and India. Maybe you live in Brazil. Maybe you live in India, and you know what Compaq is, I guess. HP and Compaq are now the same company and use the name Hewlett-Packard. The merger was intended to create a more competitive technology leader by combining the strengths of both companies. Oh, was it really? Yeah, okay. It's more competitive when the companies combine into one, right? Isn't that how that works? Isn't that how competition works? That's how it would work in the NFL. Like if you took all the best players off of every NFL team and then just put them onto one team and then got rid of all of the other teams, it would be the most competitive, right? Like that's how you would know it was the most competitive, right? It would be super competitive in the market because it's the only team left, and it would just be competing with itself, and then victory, right? Like, then you just win every week, and that's super competitive. Anyhow, Zip2 was bought by Compaq for $341 million, and Musk's share was $22 million. So he didn't even have like a 10% stake in the first company that that they sold, right? Because he didn't even get 10% of the money. Then after that, this is funny. It says Musk has also founded other companies, which is hilarious because he didn't found PayPal. He bought into PayPal. And then forced them to say that he was a founder of it. All of these companies like Tesla, he essentially bought it and then forced them to say that that he was a founder, which he wasn't. Because historically speaking, he didn't found them. He bought into them. So he basically bought into PayPal, right? And then after that, he made a bunch of money because they forced him out of PayPal, right? And yeah, and so people would go like, well, why would you say he's like a lottery winner? Because this is like winning the lottery, right? You do a goofy little startup with your brother and end up making $22 million once it sells out, plus all the money you made while it existed. And you got insanely lucky, and then you invested in something that was already a good idea, right? Like online banking in 2002, right? And eventually eBay bought PayPal, right? And so it's like people go like, it's bullshit that you would say that these guys like won the lottery. And I'm like, yeah, that's what happens when it's like when you win the lottery. The rest of you guys go to work every day. You work your ass off. You commute to your job. You have to fucking deal with whack-ass bosses all the time. You work your ass off. And then the shareholders want a higher profit or a higher portion of the profit, and they decide to just lay off big portions of the company, and now you just don't have a job. Whereas other people start up a goofy thing, and then they get paid out a ridiculous sum of money to sell a product that basically isn't necessary at all. Like, what is it, Zip2 or whatever it was called? Matthew Waybright says, I remember him on news radio. Joe Rogan The show that paid Joe Rogan a bunch of money was a baseball show. What was Joe Rogan's TV show? He played like a baseball player or something. It was called Hardball. It was a Fox sitcom called Hardball in 1994. He portrayed a tactless, highly paid young baseball player. Not long after, Rogan found success on the deal-making as the deal-making studio maintenance man on news radio. That Hardball show, they basically paid him a retainer some years before that. Joe Rogan. Let's see. But where he ultimately made his big money was from the TV show where the people competed on it, whatever that was called, the Gross Out show. TV show. What the hell was this show called? Fear Factor. That's where he made all of his money. Right, was being the guy on Fear Factor who would stand around and like talk to people. He wouldn't really do any of the stuff on Fear Factor, right? He was just there hosting it. When was that first retainer? Because he's talked about it on his show many times. Here it is. Yeah, I remember the first check I got, a real check. I got a development deal from Disney, of all people. Rogan said on the October 16th episode of his podcast, he was joined on that. I guess I was like 26. It was the first time I ever had a good chunk of money, like 6 figures in the bank. And it felt like the weight lifted off me, like a physical feeling, because my whole life was like, how am I going to eat? How am I going to pay my rent? Then all of a sudden, I don't have to worry about them anymore, right? He's talked about this a bunch of times. I remember I got my first check from Disney for a development deal from Disney in 1993. And when I got the check, I thought it was in like 89, but I guess my dates are wrong. 1993. When I got the check, I was like, the weight lifted off my shoulders. I could go look at my bank account. I got money in the bank. I can pay the bills. I don't have to think about the bills right now. Which is the weird thing, because for many years, like, and I mean, when I say many years, there was like 10 years at least of Joe Rogan saying that he was, left-leaning guy. Like he had Bernie Sanders on his podcast and whatnot. He was always saying that he was a left-leaning guy. Then he started hanging out with people like Ben Shapiro and shit. And since then, like, obviously the people that talk to him have given him the earworms of, like, you're a Republican now or whatever. And then he's to the point where he's endorsing Trump because Trump came on his show and had basically no answers for any of the questions that were being asked of him at any point in time in the whole interview, the whole 3-hour interview. But apparently it was enough to impress Joe Rogan that he was going to be the leader of the free world, right? Like, which is fucking absurd. Considering Joe Rogan asked him like 5 times what the first day in office was like of actually just being president. And Donald Trump just kept talking about what the inside of the White House was like. And somehow that's impressive enough that you would want to vote for that guy to be president again, right? Like, to have gone down the experiment, the failed experiment of the previous Trump administration, and then have a conversation like that where, the guy can't even answer the base question that you've asked him like 4 or 5 times. Can't even answer it. Can't even comprehend the question that you're asking him, and he just keeps talking about how nice the inside of the White House is, and yet then you go, oh yeah, this is the guy. I should tell all of my fans to vote for this guy and give him a full endorsement, right? It's just fucking insane. Ambling Gooner, does Donald Trump have an inside? I don't think Donald Trump has an inside. I think it's a hollow shell. He's probably like a lizard person or something at this point. Anyhow, yeah, does he have an inside? I don't know. I mean, it's filled with cheeseburgers and garbage. Do I think the Illuminati are real? No, I don't. I really don't. I mean, I think realistically, like, if you were to say like an air quote Illuminati or whatever, it's actually just corporate interests. I mean, it's just the basics of the capitalist society that we live in, where capitalism has just run insanely rampant since the early 80s. I mean, you can basically trace it back to the mid 70s and then just getting completely out of control starting in the 80s. And when you look at the sort of political pendulum of the United States, where they deregulate like crazy and then the Democrats come back in and they regulate a little bit, right? They don't go back to where they were before. They regulate a little bit, right? And don't quote me on my exact, let's just use taxes as an example. It's like if taxes were at 70%, then they drop them down to 30. Then the Democrats come back in and bring it up to 42. And then they drop it down to 25 and they bring it back to, instead of 42, they get it to 37, right? It just has continued to do that for so long that we're at a point now where the whole place is going to catch on fire, right? Is essentially what's going to happen. Yeah. If the president race was real, who do you think would win, Trump or Obama, in running race? You mean like in a foot race? In a foot race, Obama for sure. Donald Trump can't run at all. I mean, he can barely walk around and golf. What's up, Woodgie Cat? What are you doing?
Eating lunch, listening to you. What are you doing?
Eating lunch? What are you eating?
I am eating fried potatoes and broccoli and cauliflower with a little bit of Parmesan cheese.
Wait, start over again. Fried potatoes? What?
Home fried potatoes.
Home fried potatoes.
With broccoli and cauliflower and a little bit of Parmesan cheese.
Broccoli, cauliflower, Parmesan cheese. Okay.
Yep, just a skillet mess.
I'm just trying to fucking figure it out in my mind, and I probably blacked out or something. I don't know. But potatoes, broccoli, cauliflower, got it. Holy shit, we have high CPU usage detected. Let's just close that warning, because who the fuck cares?
Fish Fam Link is trying to escape your computer again.
Why is there a lady in your computer? There's lots of ladies in my computer, I gotta tell you.
Not at all what I said, but okay. No, I said Fish Fam Link is trying to escape your...
Read the chat, lady, in my computer. Oh, right. God damn. The Ambling Gooner is going strong. They're just out there gooning. They're out there gooning super hard. And if you don't know what gooning is, you'll have to look it up on your own time. But yeah, if you were wondering... realistically, if you were wondering if Donald Trump could win a foot race against Barack Obama, I would really have to wonder, because Barack Obama actually works out and runs and plays basketball and does a bunch of stuff. seems to be pretty physically fit. Donald Trump eats cheeseburgers and is fat as hell and wears lifts. Which, by the way, did you see Donald Trump and Joe Biden? They were in the White House, and if you looked at him, it's pretty clear that like Donald Trump is not very tall. Like they keep saying that like Donald Trump is like 6'2", but I honestly don't believe it. How tall is Joseph
Biden?
Joseph Robinette? Isn't that his name?
It is.
Robinette. Biden. Height. Let's see how tall our president is. So Joseph Robinette Biden is only 6 feet tall. He's listed as 6 feet tall. Donald Trump is listed at 6'3", which I don't fucking believe for a second. Barack Obama is listed at 6'2". Oh, Kamala Harris is 5'4". Wait, hold on. Let's see. Hold on. Thinking of the Illuminati here.
Uh-oh.
Hold on a second. Look at this. Okay. Now, we have a real question on our hands here. Because look at this shit. This clown has been going around saying that he's 6'3". Right? And there he is next to his wife, who's listed at 5'11". Interesting.
Yeah, it's not all hair and heels. She is taller.
Interesting. Well, no, but for so long they've been saying that he's like 6'3", and when he was in the White House, they looked like the same height. Like they looked like 6 feet tall, or they looked like the same height when they were in the White House recently, because Joe Biden actually like greeted him at the White House and did all that. And they really look like the same height, which is weird because for so long that like this guy's been going around saying that he's 6'3", but like here's these two fucking chuckle dicks walking next to each other at the White House, right? Look at this. This guy is supposed to, the guy on the left in this image, the fat guy named Donald, is supposed to be 6'3". And he's shorter in this picture than Joe is.
Right.
Now, either Trump is like 5 feet behind him for the perspective of the camera, but like, how crazy is it that people have been going around saying he's 6'3" for all this time if this is even fucking remotely the case?
Right. He's shrunken with age.
I mean, has he shrunken with age, or has he just been lying about being 6'3" for so fucking long? Like,
well, it doesn't look like he can stand up straight anymore. He's got that.
It's because of the lifts. It's the lifts in his shoes.
Right. They're pitching him forward as he walks.
Right. Oh, my studio crashed.
Uh-oh. Into what?
The web page crashed. It crashed into, I don't know, the Earth, the moon. Who knows? We're getting some good questions in the chat here. That's why I'm upset that it crashed, because I have to reload it. I think I was using too much CPU.
Uh-oh. You gotta stop doing that. You big hungry CPU hog.
Let's see. What do I think? Thoughts on the Talk Tua podcast? I don't even fucking have a clue. Is that the like Hawk Tua girl? Does
Yep.
she have a
And it's
podcast now?
horrible. Oh my God, it's awful.
I don't know. Is it bad?
It is. It is not worth. I mean, if you want to kill some brain cells and, not care anymore, then maybe. But otherwise, yeah, it's horrible.
Who's she interviewing?
Anybody she can get to come in.
Right.
Other conservative influencers that have been in trouble at some point or another. And not even good, like JoJo Siwa, I think, was in there. That kind of stuff. That's her target audience. I posted a link in News and Politics just before I came on to an interview of this conservative couple. She's an influencer, has made all kinds of questionable comments, but the gist of their whole thing is that, and they're young, is that women shouldn't vote. And that women didn't really want the vote in the 30s. Only half of us did, so suffrage shouldn't have gone through.
Oh, is that their plan? That women shouldn't vote? I mean, that's what Project 2025 is all about, removing women's right to vote. It's in there, by the way.
Yeah, and they're right on it.
It's so wild to think that, like, Nick Fuentes essentially represents, like, the Republican Party now, which is fucking crazy. Like, and people will go, like, Nick Fuentes, no way, he's like a crazy Nazi guy. And you go, like, he had dinner with Donald Trump.
Right.
So, like, these motherfuckers are getting greenlit.
Did you not notice the events in Columbus on Sunday? Come on.
Let's see, who's been on here. So, Holly Madison is an American television personality known as a former girlfriend of Hugh Hefner. Oh, this lady that used to have sex with Hugh Hefner, the old man.
Yeah, one of the Hollies.
From Playboy. Okay. Jake Paul has been on there. Okay. Great. Josh Richards. Who's Josh Richards? I don't know. Richard has garnered a following of about 25.7 million TikTok, 2.1 million on YouTube, Twitter, for what? His posts often include sports, dancing, lip syncing, comedy, and video skits. Okay, I don't know who that is. I don't care. Hannah Berner. Okay. JoJo Siwa. Dasha. I don't know what Dasha is. I don't know. I'm too old. I'm too old for this shit. Yeah. But I do know that, like, Whitney Cummings was the first guest, and I have seen clips of Whitney Cummings being on there. I'm very familiar with Whitney Cummings' work because I am old, and yeah, whatever. I mean, Whitney Cummings will do anything to be famous. So what's the content there? I guess. Mr. Brown says, is it bad that I'm more attracted to my wife after she voted for Trump? I voted for the Dems, yes, but I could find it strangely erotic when she talks down to me. Yes, Mr. Brown, that is not necessarily bad.
Very wrong.
Not necessarily bad, but it does make the eyebrows furrow, right? Of like, are you sure? But you might just be a masochist. You might just be into masochism, right? And there probably are, like, more beneficial ways that you could explore your masochism, right, instead of encouraging people to vote for a sociopath, right? Like, there'd be much easier ways. Like, you could just get her to, I don't know, spit on you or whatever, and, you know, just go that route. You'd be fine.
Right.
Let's see. Why are they in there? The ladies. Why are the ladies in my computer? What do you mean, why are they in there? Why would you question that? Why would you question? What do you mean, why? Of course. That's why.
Even the ladies know why the ladies are in his computer.
The RS Wiper, Shag, Marry, Kill, Donald Trump, Malcolm X, Raoul Moat. I don't know who Raoul Moat is. Raoul Moat. ITV's Raoul Moat drama horrifies ex-police chief Sue Sim. I don't know who this guy is. Was he like a serial killer or something?
No clue. Is he American or European?
He's English, apparently.
That makes more sense.
Perpetrator, anti-police sentiment. What is this guy? Okay, hold on. 2010, Northumbria police manhunt was a major police operation conducted across some bullshit in England with the objective of apprehending fugitive Raoul Moat. After killing one person and wounding two others in a 2-day shooting spree, 37-year-old ex-prisoner went on the run for nearly a week.
What a guy.
I don't know. I mean, you got to at least pick some candidates for F, marry, kill, right? You know?
Right.
Those aren't candidates.
No.
Have you seen the video of Chairman Mao being scared of how tall Henry Kissinger's wife is? No, I don't think I've seen that. But I would be interested in seeing that.
Yeah, that does sound amusing.
That does. Let's see if we can find it.
Okay.
Chairman Mao scared of Kissinger's wife. Here we go. Let's see. Analysis of Secretary Kissinger's meeting with Chairman Mao. October 21, 1975. Oh, there's no video attached. Videos. Oh. Wait, hold on. This has got to be it right here, right? Oh, shit. Okay, I can show you guys this. I have to keep it muted, though. Otherwise, we'll get in trouble with the internet. You know how it is. Add source. Boomski. Here we go. Blip. Let me get the... There we go. Look at this. Look how tall Kissinger's wife is compared to Mao. Oh, my God. How tall is she?
That's awesome.
She is an extraordinarily tall woman. Oh, my God. She's like 6 inches taller than Kissinger. I don't know if Kissinger was exceptionally tall, though. I think... Oh, here it is, right here. Okay, there's Mao. Yeah, fuck this guy, by the way. This clown on the left. Actually, to be clear, fuck both of these guys. Fucking warmongering sociopath.
Kissinger wasn't the greatest.
What's that? Oh,
Kissinger had some issues.
Oh, Kissinger was a piece of shit. Here we go. Oh. Well, there it is. There it is. The great leader of... Fuck.
That's funny.
That is funny. Very interesting, though.
It is.
You know, I don't know that I'd ever seen that before. And there we go. You know, see, Mondays are full of opportunities. Mondays are just full of all sorts of opportunities, especially when you read the chat. You know, like when you read the chat, you can be exposed to all sorts of stuff. Ambling Gooner says, I have a crush on Haktua. The chick, whatever her name is. I can't... Haley something or other. I mean... I don't know. She's an attractive young lady, so I guess you could have a crush on her. I don't know. I mean, feel free. Maybe don't act on it. Like maybe in the privacy of your own home or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Kiwi Mamos here. What's up? Who would be your political five-a-side team? Personally, Obama in net. Ho Chi Minh as a mastermind. CDM type position who'd be able to play to create through balls. He's not a craft defender. Oh, I mean, you mean just like straight up five-a-side, like who Like, who would I want to play on my basketball team politically? You know what? I haven't really put a whole lot of thought into that, to be frankly honest about it.
Why ever not? Clinton was tall, but he's too old now.
I don't know. How tall was Clinton?
He was, I want to say 6'4", maybe. He was pretty tall.
6'2", yeah. 6'2"
Okay,
is sort of
close.
the standard presidential height, you know? Just like quarterback, right? Because you don't want to be too tall, but you don't want to be too short. You want to be tall, but you don't want to be too tall, right? You don't want to be like
nimble, but
yeah.
not
You
big,
don't want to be like Wilt Chamberlain all over the fucking place, like just looking down on people, you know? That'll make people real uncomfortable.
All gangly arms and legs.
Yeah, you don't want to be super gangly. You don't want to be getting all the rebounds. You know what I'm saying?
Good. That means Dennis Rodman won't be president anytime soon. Although,
You mean the worm?
sure as shit, he's yeah. Oh, is he the worm?
Yeah, he was always referred to as the worm. That was who he was called.
Okay.
So here we go. Here's
All
some
right.
heights. George Pataki, he's 6'5". Jeb Bush is 6'3". Rand Paul is only 5'8". I would tower
Oh, he's
over
out.
Rand Paul, both not only intellectually but also physically.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Hillary Clinton is shorter than 86% of all presidents. Who's shorter than Hillary Clinton?
Coolidge, maybe?
Who the fuck was super short? Let's go find out. We got to find out which president was super short. There's only 1, 2, 3 presidents that were shorter. That were shorter than Hillary Clinton. Where? Let's see. Come on. Come on. Where's the short presidents? It's not in here. God damn it.
Randy Newman got rid of them all.
Shortest presidents. Short people.
I love doing that to you.
Let's see. Who was shorter than... James Madison was 5'4". Okay.
Ooh. There's a man who gave speeches from the back of a horse.
Yeah. Martin Van Buren was 5'6". Benjamin Harrison was 5'6". William McKinley was 5'7". John Adams was 5'7". John Quincy Adams was also 5'7". James K. Polk was 5'8". Zachary Taylor was 5'8". William Harrison was 5'8". Ulysses S. Grant was 5'8". Rutherford B. Hayes was 5'9". Teddy Roosevelt was a towering 5'10". Andrew Johnson was 5'10". Let's see. I mean, which presidents
really
were taller? Which
medicine.
presidents were taller than me? Let's see.
Really
we
see
gotta
where
get. We gotta go
modern
way up
medicine-
the list here. So John Kennedy was 6'1".
Right?
Reagan was
Ford,
6'1".
maybe.
Andrew Jackson was 6'1". George Washington was 6'2". Barack Obama. FDR was 6'2", a towering giant amongst men. At 6'2", brought us the New Deal. Was elected to president. What was he elected 5 times or 4 times?
4. I think he was the last of the.
FDR elected times. Was it 4 times or 5 times?
I think it was 4. I
1,
might be wrong.
2, 3, 4. Yeah. Okay, so the 4th time, and then he died.
Yeah.
And he died January 20th, 1941. It's a damn shame. He would have been elected until he died. And as a matter of fact, he did. Let's see. H.W. was 6'2". Tommy Jefferson was 6'2". Billy Clinton. We've already gone over the fact that Donald Trump is probably not 6'3".
Right.
No way. Lyndon
doesn't have
B.
the biggest
Jarenson.
crowd,
Lyndon B. Jarenson was 6'4". Is he the tallest president? It won't go more to the right here. Oh, here we go. Lyndon B. Jarenson and Abraham Lincoln's tied at 6'4". And I mean, that's like maybe a power forward these days in the NBA. Probably a point guard. I mean, these guys would be point guards in today's NBA. The tallest presidents at 6'4", A.B. Lincoln and Lyndon B. Jarenson.
One of my favorite pieces of radio tape is a phone call of Lyndon B. talking to his tailor, which is just hilarious.
Yeah. Mr. Brown, Mr. Brown asks, can you dunk a basketball? No, I cannot. There was a time in my youth. There was a time in my youth that I could dunk on like a 9.5 foot. I'm only like 6 foot tall. I'm just under, like a little bit under 6 foot. There was a time where I could dunk on like a 9.5 foot pretty easily. Like not really a problem, but that extra 6 inches, you know, if you ask anybody out there, that extra 6 inches is a big deal, you know? I was never really one for like basketball though. I wasn't a basketball guy. I played soccer, rock climbing, mountaineering. I did all sorts of stuff, but I didn't really enjoy the sport of basketball. I didn't enjoy the sport of baseball either. I played it when I was a little kid, and then I was like, this is a fucking stupid sport. I don't like this. And I also didn't like I never liked the aspect of basketball because it was an inside game. I didn't really like playing inside sports all that much.
Nimble ground games for you.
Thoughts on the Polanski document? I don't know off the top of my head. Let's look. Polanski.
Is Jen?
You mean Roman Polanski or
Jen Polanski? Maybe seems more somehow appropriate.
Oh, here we go. Lawsuit accusing Roman Polanski.
Where is Roman?
Oh my God! I don't have a fucking. We need super chats because I can't afford to pay for the New York Times. So we'll have to go with maybe USA Today will let us read their article. Nope. They won't let us read the article. Can I just close that? Oh, USA Today's block feature is not as advanced as the New York Times. The civil lawsuit was originally filed in the Los Angeles County Superior Court in June 2023, but the plaintiff's attorney, Gloria Allred, confirmed USA Today on Wednesday that the case was settled over the summer with the director now 91 years old. God, is that guy still alive? The trial was set to begin August 2025. She said that a settlement of claims was agreed to by the parties to their mutual satisfaction. The director's attorney, Alexander Rufus Isaacs, gave a similar statement. So he's being sued in civil court. I guess I don't, you know. The trial was set to center on an alleged incident from 1973 where the woman said she went out for dinner with Polanski after meeting the director at a party on a previous occasion. Blah, 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 blah. I don't know. To be honest with you, it doesn't occupy a space in my mind. I gave up on Roman Polanski when he when I was born. I don't know. I don't fucking care. To be honest with you, he fled the country, as far as I know, when initially charged. Right? Like,
yep.
Went to France. Polanski fled to France. I know that he fled to France. When did he flee? 1977. He was arrested and charged in 1977. He fled to England and then France in 1978. So, I mean, he fled before I was born, to be clear, right? So, it's just really not something that I think about very often because he fled to France before I was born and then has just been there. You know, I mean, do I want justice? Sure. For sure. If you were locked in a room with Richard Nixon, how long till you're passionately making out? I don't know, 5 minutes probably, you know, realistically. He's a passionate,
was real hot.
He's a passionate man and, you know, was very convincing debater. He would get very, very sweaty and his hair would get all fucked up and, you know, hey, That's why he lost to JFK. The advent of TV.
Those Mennonites. There, wasn't it Mennonite? What he was some weird. Well, not
was
weird.
Nixon a Mennonite? I don't think he was.
I think it was Mennonite or something similar, some variant thereof.
I don't know. People have searched it. Was Nixon a Mennonite? People have searched it before, is what I'm saying. Oh, here from the Idaho News. From the Idaho News. Richard Milhouse Nixon was raised a Quaker. He was a Quaker.
Quaker, not a Mennonite. I
was like,
it was one or the other.
It did not spring a like, oh yeah, he was a Mennonite. No, he was a Quaker. That's different.
Quaker. Oh, sure. Okay. I am not familiar enough with the different flavors of that variation of Christianity to be able to answer that.
What's
Excuse me.
Did you just burp on the live stream?
No, I'm coughing. No,
Oh,
it's your live stream. Only you can burp. I'm
Did
coughing.
you just burp straight into the mic? I was gonna congratulate you on.
I could, but not currently.
I was gonna congratulate you on victoriously evacuating your burp. How's it going on the homestead? I hear that you had generator problems.
I have a dead generator. After this live
dead
stream,
generator.
Yep, once a year seems to be my generator average.
They don't last that long, you know. Well, was that one new last year or was it new the year before? That's the question.
New last year. Last summer-ish. So, getting another littler Ryobi this time around, not something big and crazy, just something that can charge the batteries on the solar gens on gray days.
It is a problem. It is a problem. I realized that today when I was driving my truck right around lunchtime, so right around noon, and my nighttime headlights were on as if it was dark out. The sensor was like, hey, it's nighttime. And I'm like, dude, it's noon, bro. Like, I tried to tell my truck, hey, it's noon. I tried to tell my truck that it's light out, but it didn't believe me, and it automatically turned on the headlights.
False news, bro. False news.
I'm like, fuck me, man.
All right. Grey Jedis. I am not familiar with Grey Jedis.
Oh, you're not familiar with the Grey Jedi Order? The Grey Jedi Order is my favorite. Hold on.
Please inform.
The Grey Jedi Order. These are my guys. Like, if I was a Jedi, I would be one of the Grey Jedis. Because these sons of bitches, they use both.
All right.
You know what I'm talking about?
A little bit of force and a little bit of whip-assing going on.
They use it both. They use the dark and the light. They don't care. They're like, if it's useful, I'm using it.
They are not a good witch or a bad witch. I see.
The term Grey Jedi, or Grey, had two meanings. First, it was used by the Jedi and Sith to describe Force users who walked the line between the light and the dark sides of the Force without surrendering to the dark side. And second, it described a Jedi who was distanced themselves from the Jedi High Council and operated outside the structures of the Jedi Code. See, this would be me, right? I'd be like, motherfucker, yeah, they got all this stuff. I'm using all of it. I don't give a shit. Like, you got fire? Like, okay, I'll use that. You got force healing? Yeah, I'll use that too. Oh, you got like throw people up in the air? Because the good side, they're able to use like force push, right? They're able to just like shove shit around and throw rocks all over the place. Like, that's good, but you can't use any of the dark force, right?
Right.
A group of renegade Jedi called the Grey Paladins used the term this way to describe themselves. They advocated minimal reliance on the Force and the use of blasters, but otherwise held to the Jedi Code. The term dated back as far as the old Sith Wars, when the High Council attempted to consolidate their power and centralize the Order. Some Jedi felt that the Council did not have the authority to reinterpret the Jedi Code and considered themselves beholden only to the Force. These early Grey Jedi clashed with the Council over the new strictures of the code, such as those barring attachment or restricting training. During this time period, Grey Jedi became associated with a certain variety of robe. Bindo wore a version of these robes. The term was later used by the New Jedi Order to refer to entire Force traditions that held views which differed from that of the Jedi, but did not embrace the dark side. So the thing is that like the Greys don't embrace the dark side, but they can use it, and they also have attachment,
Right.
and they also have sex, and they also have wives and husbands and all that kind of stuff. And you go like, oh, the difference between being a weird, freaky spiritual monk guy who's like, I'm celibate, don't, blah, 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 and then the other guy being like, oh, check me out, I'm the devil, I do whatever, just murdering kids all over the place, right? Like they're like,
Right.
both of these things are
They're
super weird.
Episcopalians rather than Catholic.
Yeah, it's like both of these things are super weird, and I would like to be a well-rounded human being as opposed to trying to act like I'm some sort of Jesus figure, right? And
There
I
you
think
go.
realistically, like in referencing this in American politics, into American politics, is that the Democrat Party for far too long has been attempting to act like the Jedi, right? Like they've been trying to be holier than thou, running
than thou.
anybody out of their party who has any kind of thing going on. And it escapes my mind. Al Franken. There we go. I started to look it up. But Al Franken is a perfect example of what is wrong and what has been wrong.
Okay.
With
Messages.
the what has been going on with the Democrat, like puritanical ideas of like who can be a leader within the party, right?
Okay.
Al Franken is like a perfect example of him being kicked out in 2017.
Based on Me Too, as I recall.
Yeah, and he was basically kicked out because he went on an NSO tour. I don't want to see if I can find the picture that he was kicked out for. Here it is, right here. This is the picture. This is why Al Franken is no longer... Was he a senator? Yeah, I think he was a senator. This is the picture right here as to why Al Franken is no longer a senator. That he was jokingly fake grabbing the breasts of somebody's flak jacket, right? She's wearing a bulletproof vest in this, and you can see his fingers aren't even barely touching the flak jacket. She had fallen asleep,
Right.
and they took a goofy picture as comedians on tour, right? Of him fake grabbing her boobs while she's wearing a flak jacket. If you've ever worn a flak jacket before, you can't feel anything on the outside of your flak jacket. It's a fucking chest plate that stops bullets, okay? And this is what he was kicked out of the Senate for, right? This picture right here. This is what Al Franken was kicked out by the Democrat Party. He was run out because of this image right here.
The temerity.
And this is what's wrong with the Democrat Party. A brilliant man like Al Franken was kicked out, was run out, had to resign his position from this picture right here. Okay? Like, the guy who was just elected for the Republican Party is a convicted rapist in civil court, right? And this picture is what this picture is what Al Franken got kicked out for. The guy who just got elected to President of the United States is on record talking to Howard Stern about why he bought in on the Miss America pageant. It was so that he could go into the dressing rooms while the girls were dressing and undressing. And if you want to go look that up, go look that up, right? But Al Franken was kicked out because he fake grabbed somebody's boobs while they were wearing a flak jacket, passed out on a USO tour, right? This is what's wrong with the idea that like the Democrat Party is supposed to be some kind of puritanical, like fucking holier than thou political movement. This is what has gone wrong, in my opinion, with the Democrat Party for so fucking long. They've been doing this shit, and it's more or less a reaction to the fact that Bill Clinton got a blowjob when he was president, right? And so for decades now, they've been attempting to sort of give this broad stroke, like any kind of aberrant behavior, it was a goof from goofy people that were on a comedy tour. And yet Matt Gaetz has just been appointed to the Attorney General by the Republican Party, right? The Republican Party is appointing like known sex criminals to operate the Department of Justice. Weekend news anchors from Fox News are going to be taking over the DOD, the biggest corporation in the world, right? He's supposed to suddenly become the CEO of the biggest corporation in the world with zero experience. And yet the Democrat Party...
Come on now. He was in the Guard.
What's that?
Said he was in the Guard. Joking. Go on.
Yeah, true. I mean, Tim Walz was in the Guard too, right? Or was he? No, actually, he wasn't in the Guard. He was actually serving. Anyhow, more to my point is that there's been this sort of like puritanical representation of the Democrat Party in the United States for far too long. This idea that like only tough people are Republicans, right? So this sort of Joe Roganification of the Republican Party that like if you work out, shoot guns, do anything like that, oh, you must be a Republican, right? And it's like I don't know like a specific date or time that when this happened. But when I was a kid, hillbillies and rednecks and shit were almost all what the Democrat Party represents, right? Workers' rights, paid overtime, unionization, blue-collar workers. And somehow,
Unions.
I said unions. This is all flipped on its head. And I think a lot of it has to do with this sort of puritanical messaging for so long. And I think all that shit needs to go 100% to the wayside. Like, I'm a huge leftist. Do I believe in capital? Hold on. Oh my God, what happened here? My brain. Do I believe that capitalism can exist? Yes, 100%. It needs heavy regulation, as proved through history. And what history? The United States history. If we take a look back in the America that we live in now and look at the robber barons that essentially created the Great Depression, it's because of zero regulation of capitalism, right? Capitalism should exist. It is a stepping stone for people to be able to move up in life, 100%, but it cannot be unregulated. Unregulated capitalism leads to the Carnegies, the Rockefellers, the list goes on. How many robber barons were there? I can't even remember all their names right now. Robber barons.
Mellon, Astor. Who else?
I need a list. Here we go. The 24 robber barons that ran America. Oh my God! And I need a fucking
password for that.
Okay.
Crazy.
Does anybody just have regular shit posted? Oh, here we go. Rockefeller, Carnegie, J.P. Morgan, Henry Ford. Here it is. The 19 robber barons. Here it is. Oh, John Jacob Astor. Oh, this motherfucker.
Yep.
Vanderbilt.
Ah, there it is.
Jay Cook. James Buchanan Duke, right? All of the, you can go back and learn about all of these guys, right? If you want. I have like a cursory knowledge of most of these guys because it's been years since I've gone back to have like specific things that they did or didn't do or whatever. I'd have to go back and like refresh myself. I've read a lot of books about these guys, a lot of the crazy shit that they did. But it essentially boils down to them creating conglomerate corporations, right? It's basically where the modern day corporation was invented. And we had to brutally regulate that shit from continuing in the United States. And it, by the way, led to the longest period of prosperity in the United States. And it led to a lot of what the modern day Democrat Party is essentially pushing for. And the big issue is that somehow societally we've moved from the Democrats being the blue collar workers to suddenly the Democrats being the white collar people. And I don't know how this really came to be, but I wouldn't be shocked to find out that a lot of it has to do with this idea that we're going to essentially purify. Oh my God, my computer today is being a piece of shit. That we're essentially going to purify the Democrat Party into representing this like people that can have zero failures or anything like that. And I use the Al Franken example as like the guy didn't even fucking do anything wrong realistically. I mean, obviously an apology was in order. Obviously, hey, don't do that again, whatever. But it was literally like an image that was
not a huge deal.
Just bad comedy more than anything. I mean, I don't even really feel like it really even crossed the line technically with anybody, even to any more degree than just saying like, I'm fucking sorry, that was a stupid picture, I'm very sorry about that, and I didn't mean to make you feel bad or whatever. Right. Boom, now we're done, right? It's like stepping on somebody's toe in line, like, oh, whoops, hey, sorry about that, you know. To me, that's the degree. But for some reason, the Democrats have been on a warpath, and I think it has a lot to do with the Bill Clinton effect, realistically. The way that I put it is that a lot of the politicians that are in office, and this also is another sign of the issue that we have, is these boomer-ass fucking people that are still in office. And don't tell me that Mitch McConnell isn't a boomer. Don't tell me that Feinstein wasn't a boomer, right? Like, these motherfuckers are almost 90 years old, okay? Like, or plus, right? And you know, it was funny. I talked to my uncle the other day, and he was talking about like the big issue is that these people are career politicians. And now I don't think, personally, this is what I told him. I said I don't think it is ridiculous for somebody to be a career politician, right? Let's say you become a mayor at some point. Let's say you become a state house representative, then you become a house representative federally.
Maybe a governor.
Yeah, maybe you become a governor, maybe you become a senator, maybe you become Secretary of State or whatever. Now, if you were to do all that stuff in a typical time period, like let's say you were the mayor for 8 years, right? And you were 27 when you were elected mayor. It's like now you're 35. And then you became a state representative for 8 years. It's like, okay, now you're 43, right? And let's say you became a senator for 2 terms, right? Now you're 55. And then you became Secretary of State for 5 years or 8 years or whatever. Like you're in your 60s, time to retire, bud, right? That would all make sense to me as somebody's career. But when somebody becomes like a senator, a state senator at 42, and they're currently 88 years old and ran again, this is a problem, right? like, oh, you want to be state senator
That's
for
where-
46 years? What the fuck is going on here, right? So I don't think that, like, fundamentally it's very easy to just say, like, oh, because it's a career that it's bad, right? I'm saying that, like, if you were to look at it through a lens of, like, somebody having a career where they just moved up the path and then retired at a normal age, it's very difficult to explain to young people that you're supposed to retire between 62 and 65, right? Like, you should be working on building your life so that you can retire in that age range, so you have time to live the end of your life when, how old is Pelosi?
There's still some energy. Oh God, she's got to be pushing 90.
No, she's 84 years old, right?
Okay.
So, it's very difficult to tell young people that, like, hey, here's how you should build your life. This is what you should do in life when you're 84 years old and still
Clinging to the teat.
Yeah, like, and still at work and supposedly leading the country or whatever, right? It's fucking bizarre. Like, it's just bizarro world where you're like, oh, don't do what I say, or don't do what I do what I say, you know? And it's like, these people are not living up to their own messaging, right? Like, that's the big issue.
Right.
And like, Donald Trump's 78 years old. He should be retired. Like, the chance of him dying in office, I forget what the percentage of men that die after 78 years of age. I think it's something like, where's that? I saw this a while ago, that it's like you have a 2 in 3 chance of dying every year after the age of 78. Yeah, because life expectancy for men is 74.8, right? In the United States.
Right. So he's already living on borrowed time.
Like, he's already technically fucked the means.
Yeah.
Who are Washington State senators? I have to just look it up because I can't.
Murray, Newhouse. Thing here. I don't remember anybody else off the top of my head.
Maria Cantwell, and I think Patty Murray has announced her retirement, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, Patty Murray and Maria Cantwell are the currently, and I think Patty Murray announced her retirement, if I recall, that she wasn't going to run again this next time that she's up. How old is
She was young when she went in.
She was really young when she went in.
I want to say she was in like her 30s, maybe mid 30s. Excuse me. Good God.
Maria Cantwell is 66. Maria Cantwell is 74, but I know that she announced her retirement. I think that's right.
Oh, Marie. Okay. Right.
I mean, she ran when she was really young, but yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous that she's still in, you know, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't have real issues with Patty Murray, but it's wild that anybody would be in for that long.
Right.
In the 118th Congress, Patty took over a chair of the powerful Senate Appropriations Committee and made history as the first woman ever to serve as president pro tempore of the Senate. Which means she might be like the eldest member in the Senate, right?
Maybe.
President pro tempore is the second highest ranking official in the United States Senate after the vice president. The president pro tempore presides over the Senate when the vice president is unable to and assumes the vice president's roles. The president pro tempore is responsibilities include enforcing rules and procedures, signing bills, and administering oaths. The president pro tempore is usually a leader of the majority party in the Senate and is traditionally the most senior senator in that party. The Senate chooses the president pro tempore, and the position is elected. Yeah, it's typically the person that's been in the Senate the longest. And it's temporary. It's in the name, pro tempore. Who are Washington State senators since '93? Is she doing a lot for the state? Yes, Patty Murray has done quite a bit for the state, to be honest with you. While I don't agree with her on everything, she has done quite a bit. I would have to look it up to really give you a breakdown, because I mean, just off the top of my head would be a big clusterfuck of me going, well, I gotta remember.
No.
Yeah, so here's a good summary of where Patty Murray came from. In 1991, Patty Murray watched the Anita Hill hearings along with the rest of the country, where the fact that there were only 2 women in the entire U.S. Senate and none on the Senate Judiciary Committee was on full display. Patty decided to run for Senate in 1992 as a voice for Washington workers and families who were not being heard, especially women. Dramatically outspent, Patty ran a grassroots campaign of family, friends, supporters, and public interest groups to beat a 10-year veteran of the U.S. House of Representatives and win the Senate seat. Patty was reelected in 98, 04, 10, 16, and 22. And I do recall this last time that she ran, she announced at her retirement that this would be the last time that she runs. And it is crazy that she's 74. I thought she was younger, but it is kind of ridiculous that she would have ran this last time. But I do remember hearing her talk about, like, with all the bullshit that happened with COVID and everything and the Trump administration, that she was like, you know, I don't know whether I agree with her or not.
To help
like,
clean up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I agree with her position to run again. Like, as I stated earlier, like my position is that, like, these people should be retiring at a reasonable retirement age. Now, I don't think it would make sense to put any age restriction as far as, like, age discriminating against elderly people, I guess. I don't know how to word that in a way that makes sense other than just to say it out
Ageism,
loud, that, like,
yeah.
you shouldn't discriminate against old people, right? Like, I don't think that it would make sense to make any kind of law that was like, you're 70, you can't run for whatever, right? I already think it's super weird that you have to be 35 to run for president, and that's in our fucking Constitution. It's bizarre as all get out to me, but I realistically think all those age thresholds should be removed, because if some motherfucker that's 18 gets elected president, that's our bad. We already elected a fucking orange clown goon.
Rapist.
Yeah. To the presidency again. This is not even the first time, by the way. It's fucking insane. So I don't think that there should be a law that says that you can't be a certain age and continue to run. But I feel like the Democrat Party should be organized enough to be able to sort out getting the next group of politicians in place, out there, get their message out there, and replace people that are aging out. It's wild
Do you
to
see any?
hope that Patty Murray lives to be 80, 80, and just is able to maintain it the whole time to her being 80. Yeah, and like it's just ridiculous. But the Democratic Party should be invested enough in the new politicians coming up and getting the new people lined up to work positions, right? Like, it would be equally as stupid as if you had a CEO who was 84 years old, right? And then that guy just dies, and then you go like, oh, I don't know. Do we have a CEO guy? Who can be the CEO? We don't know. I guess the company's going under. We don't have a guy to take over. That would equally be stupid. And there are a lot of companies that have that problem too. So, like CEOs don't want to give up power. And I think the bigger point of that is that like those jobs really aren't that difficult to do if you can do them at 84 years old. Right? Like, yeah.
Be able to do them at 22.
Praktika Masala says weekend news anchor from Fox who happens to be a white Christian supremacist will be in charge of the DoD. Yeah, it's insane.
And don't let them throw axes.
I think the bigger thing is, so if the Dems want to take back in 2028, they need to run a Bernie type who can engage with working class Americans and make them see how voting for the billionaire's friends won't serve their cause. Actually, I fully now people are going to get mad when I say this, but I don't think there will be a 2028 election. I honestly don't.
Yeah.
A lot of people are expecting a bunch of guardrails to somehow keep this shit from
Reading off the cliff.
Basically putting itself on an ice flow right out to the ocean, right? Like what guardrails? Like what guardrails are we talking about? Are we talking about the Department of Defense? Because that's going to be head up by an insane person. Are you talking about the Department of Justice? Because that's going to be head up by an insane person. Are you talking about like what guardrails? Like they're going to systematically remove all of the people that are going to say no to things, right? They've already done that with the Supreme Court. They have a majority in the House, the Senate. They have the presidency. They have the Supreme Court. Like, I've been trying to explain to people that, like, how bad this next Trump presidency is going to be, and people kept crying about, like, oh, you got your hair on fire, and I'm like, this is not going to go well. And to the point of where, like, I don't think there will be a 2028 election, honestly. I don't think YouTube will be around. I don't think YouTube will be around. I don't think YouTube will survive the removing of Section 230. I really don't.
You saw who he put up for the FCC today, didn't you?
What's that?
You saw who he put up for the FCC today, didn't you? The guy who wrote the whole thing about the FCC and Project 2025 is who he picked to head the FCC.
Yeah,
Brendan Carr. He doesn't know anything about Project 2025.
Yeah, Brendan Carr wrote the FCC chapter in Project 2025. Now he's Trump's pick for the agency. Yep. The comments from Carr, who wrote the chapter on the FCC in the conservative blueprint Project 2025, signaled that it wouldn't be business as usual as the country's communications regulatory agency. Past chairs of the agency, both Republicans and Democrats, have emphasized broadband internet deployment and wireless spectrum policy. Carr didn't mention those issues on Sunday night. Instead, he took aim at technology companies for, air quote, censorship, promised to hold broadcast TV and radio stations accountable, and pledged to end the FCC's promotion of diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. Carr was very clearly channeling the president-elect, who raised all three topics on the campaign trail and often in misleading ways. Trump appointed Carr to the FCC in 2017. Carr is now the senior Republican at the agency, which meant he was widely expected to get the chairman appointment. He also has a close relationship with Musk, some of it has been visible in their interactions on X, and has accused Democrats of waging regulatory lawfare against Musk's Starlink satellite internet service. As chairman, Carr may be able to steer generous federal subsidies to Starlink. When Politico published a story titled "The D.C. Bureaucrat Who Could Deliver Billions to Elon Musk" last month, Carr told the outlet that he would be an even-handed regulator. Musk celebrated Carr's appointment on X Sunday night. Both men talk in much the same way about free speech rights, reflecting widespread concerns on the right about online censorship, except here's my part here, is that Elon Musk has regularly censored all sorts of accounts and fucked with Twitter so much that it's just a right-wing Nazi fucking shithole. And that's going to happen with YouTube. TikTok is already banned, and they're just going to implement the ban. Eventually, we're going to, let's see, Zuckerberg came out and was basically apologizing to Donald Trump for doing nothing. And we have very few companies that we are able to openly communicate, right? And they're essentially going to be over-regulated and or restricted to the point where, like, I probably won't be able to do YouTube anymore because there'll be keywords where it'll search all my live streams and just be like, oh, this guy's a piece of shit, we got to ban him or whatever. But I don't know what to tell you other than there probably won't be a 2028 election. It's like there probably won't.
Do you think we'll get 2026 midterms?
Probably not. I don't think so. I mean, like I said, I haven't read every single word out of Project 2025, but it's clear that's what they're going to do. And it's highlighted in there that, like, that's all what they want to do. You know, they want to do 1984. They want to, like, regulate all of this shit so that the only voices that you hear are ones that will tell you what to think, right? So I really don't expect the United States to exist in any way that you've ever known before in probably not very much time. As illustrated by like the pandemic would be like a perfect example of that. That, like, even with all of the people protesting or whatever, like nothing happened, right? Like nothing ever occurred. We have the United States is so ghastly huge that, like, I mean, I don't really want to, like, put it into terms like this, but, like, if Baltimore just disappeared tomorrow, would anybody even really notice?
Right.
I don't know. I don't really know. Like, people would probably post about it and be like, the fuck, man, Baltimore's gone. Like, all the people I knew in Baltimore are gone. And within a week, it would be like, yeah, I guess that happens to Baltimore sometimes. Oh, well. Back to fucking slave wages, right?
Right.
Like,
I mean, it's been happening to Detroit for the last 30 years.
I mean, I drove through Detroit to look at it. You know, I went there with Matt Weber. Like, we drove around Flint, Michigan. We drove around Detroit. We drove around Lansing. We drove around basically the whole state while we were there, just to look at, like, how devastating it was that state essentially just fell away, right? Like, whole neighborhoods that had houses and houses and houses on every street. You'd go down a street, there'd be like 2 houses on it, where there clearly were houses all the way up and down the street before, and they're just gone, right? And to be able to, like, see that and, like, see realistically, like, what the effect of all of that was, and then just go, like, yeah, it's just like a headline that if you live 100 miles away or 200 or 300 miles away, like, it just doesn't mean anything realistically. It's like, yeah, I guess things are bad in Detroit. I don't know. Back to Tulsa,
Right.
Oklahoma stuff, right? Like,
Right,
it just.
my favorite team or
Mhm.
whatever.
Well, yeah, and it's like, a perfect example would be, yeah, Lawrence Keebler says they had to bulldoze the vacant homes. I know, yeah, we were there. I shot some video about it, but yeah, like they had to bulldoze the vacant homes because people were squatting in them, and then they couldn't afford the police department because the houses would catch on fire. So they basically were paying people like $1,000 to demolish houses. That's really what it boiled down to. There was a guy who made a shitload of money demolishing houses, because he would buy all the contracts for like a whole neighborhood and then just demolish all the houses and haul everything off. But regardless of any of that, more to my point is that like the United States is so large that like they were talking about the city in Colorado that was overrun by Venezuelans, right? Venezuelan gangs.
Oh, it wasn't Boulder. That was outside of Boulder. Shit, what's the name of that place?
Just find
See
it
it.
real quick. Aurora, yeah, where the
Aurora.
wasn't Aurora where the school shooting was?
The Stand. Yep. No, that not the school shooting. The theater shooting.
Theater shooting, right? But they kept
The
talking about
Batman
the Venezuelan gangs in Colorado, right? And it's like even now with people have cameras in their pockets, connectivity everywhere. There basically was a video that they kept playing over and over and over again of some masked people with guns busting into an apartment, right? And they interview all the people on the ground and all that stuff, and they go like, yeah, there's some gangs around here and stuff and whatever. And then the reality is the police report from like a couple days later, right? Those gang members were found, arrested, and put in jail, right? Which like is what the expectation would be for a response to gang members operating in a town. And it's like, what else should have been done there, right? But yet the story will continue on that like these Venezuelan gangs are running rampant in Aurora. And by the way, like how many military bases
in Denver. Or in
are in
Colorado.
Colorado? Because I mean, you have like all of the shit around Colorado Springs and all that.
Mm-hmm.
There are how many?
Fort Collins.
In just Colorado Springs, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 military installations in just Colorado Springs, right? And you go like,
but nobody called the National Guard.
But Colorado's overrun, right? Overrun by what? I mean, like, but that has essentially been the narrative that like Colorado's overrun, which all the people in Colorado are going like, what the fuck are you talking about, right? Like, what? How are we overrun? We're not like an occupied state or something, right?
Right.
Yeah, and it's like, but yet that narrative will take off, and then people end up voting for the fucking weirdo, and they've learned now like how to do that. Like they let Elon Musk buy Twitter, right? Even though there were court cases about it, and there were a shitload of court cases about all the wacky shit that he's been doing. But now he's snuggled up with little Donnie, eating Big Macs on private planes and shit. And all those cases are going to get dropped because, well, guess who's going to be the new attorney general, right? So ultimately my point is like, who's supposed to step in here, right? Like, what are you talking about when it's like, oh, the guardrails, everything will just be normal, and the Democrats will get elected next time, and it'll be fine, right? Like, it's just not going to be business as usual. It just isn't. No. And I don't look forward to it. I honestly do not look forward to it at all. But yeah, I mean,
well, and nobody. I mean, even in the first couple of months when he goes in and does this mass firing of actual trained civil servants.
Right.
And puts in who knows.
Well, like how many departments are they going to cut? They said they wanted to cut $2 trillion from the U.S. budget. It's just not possible, but they're going to try.
Well, and I'm not even talking about full departments, but they're saying across the board it's something like 2,000 or more, excuse me, or more just regular civil service positions across the entire government.
No, it's more
IRS
than that.
workers, auditors.
It's far more than that. It's far more than 2,000. It's way more than 2,000. But like, the entire operating budget of all of the people, right? It doesn't even remotely come close to $2 trillion. I think they said it was something like 13 billion, right?
But those people are going to do some real ugly things to the unemployment number. And the unemployment numbers that he's swearing are going to go down. I don't know how that's going to work.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just wild shit's going to happen. But it is 4:10 p.m. We did not hit our 10 super chat goal, so we won't be having a Friday show. We had some interesting people show up into the chat today. Thank you for the ambling gooner, Mr. Brown, for going strong in the chat. I appreciate the strength of your content added to the chat. It's wild stuff. Lawrence Keebler, love you very much for showing up strongly in the chat at the end. We like it. Melissa Bentley, they want to take away your rights and give you money and give your money to billionaires. They want to force you to have babies that grow up to be shipped off to war. They are evil. Yeah, actually, that's their agenda, pretty much. Yep, the Republicans for sure. Thank you for our super chats today. The Skoglin, the Shrimper, the Skoglin man. I can't access because my stream crashed. Oh, here it is. Witchy Cat, we got a $5 super chat, and also thanks for calling in. Alyssa, we got a $5 super chat, and you didn't call in, but we appreciate you anyhow. And Skog Shrimp and stuff with a $5 super chat. Thank you very much. Very much appreciate it. You all can super chat after the fact, or hit the like button, or do whatever the fuck you want. It's all good, baby. We'll talk to you next week, and maybe not Friday, because we didn't get enough super chats for the goal. So, I don't know. But if I'm around, maybe I'll stream, if you're lucky, punk.